Hi everyone, this is Josh, back with Cardboard Chronicles, the second episode. Today I'm talking with Sam, also known as 401 Cards on Blowout and 401 Sports Cards on Instagram. Did I get those right? How's it going?
Yep, yep, you did.
Um,
I'm good, Josh.
let's just jump right into it. So why don't you start by telling us about yourself, and then also your background in collecting, how you got into it, and all that.
Cool. So I'm 18. I just graduated high school, going to college in the fall. I've been collecting for about 6 years now. So what actually got me into it was I only collect basketball and football, but what got me into collecting was actually the big Steven Strasburg hype from like I think it was 2011, 2012. And what happened was it was the I think his Superfractor sold for six figures, and I was literally like, I went up to my dad. I go, Dad, baseball cards aren't for this much money. Like, what is our country? And he goes, Well, I actually collected back in the day, and I was like, Oh, cool, no way. And I've always been like a really nostalgic person. So I always thought I found the idea of cards cool because I thought of it as people collectively like being aware of history as it was happening and wanting a piece of history as it was happening. And then if they were right about it, it was just an unforgettable collectible that could be passed down. So then on my 13th birthday, my dad gave me all of his old baseball cards. He got it out of like the storage compartment or wherever he had it. And it was all 90s junk wax. So he was like, just do whatever you want with it. I don't want it. It's all probably worthless. So I actually went through the whole like discovery. Oh wait, not everything's actually a gold mine, and then like the whole like siphoning off of all that in like a really abbreviated period of time. So what ended up happening is I sold a couple of the packs of cards to my buddies for like 25 cents a pack, and I got like $50 or $60 from like the 30 boxes of cards that I had. And then I'm fortunate enough that there's a really good local card show that runs about every 3 weeks up here. So then I took that money and I went to that card show and I bought the one rookie card I wanted to get. And then I actually graded one of my dad's old cards as a Mike Schmidt rookie card. And then just using that like $50 and then the money from the Mike Schmidt card after I got started collecting.
So how did you jump from baseball to basketball then?
So basically the baseball was it was what I had.
Right.
Um, and then once I got to the show too, I kind of know basketball better. And then I read a lot of Cardboard Connection. I don't know if they're actually still a site because they don't really update stuff anymore. But I was reading about just like their how-to guides to how to collect, and baseball was just way over my head. It still is. The whole prospecting didn't really appeal to me at all because I kind of like the immediacy of like football and basketball. And then I've kind of branched out into football a little bit. Then my big PC was Ryan Tannehill because the one card I kept from my dad's collection was his Dan Marino rookie card. So I was like, let's collect the Dolphins quarterback. And then that was not too kind to me. So since then I've kind of stayed in my lane and done mostly basketball.
Nice. The nostalgia thing is the thing that I I can relate to the most of what you said. Like I think that's what gets a lot of people in. It's like for me, I collected back in the late '90s when I was a kid, and then the thing that got me back was like, oh, I remember having these pieces of history, right? And I remember, seeing Penny Hardaway on commercials, and I remember the shoes, and I remember,
Yep.
holding the cardboard actually and like feeling the cardboard. That's a big part of what gets people back. So that's an
Yeah.
awesome story to hear. All right, so now today, what do you collect?
Primarily basketball. I don't. So my card budget is kind of self-sufficient. At this point, I don't really like to dip into any of like my actual savings, especially with college on the horizon. Um, so I do try to flip a lot, relatively speaking, especially compared to like I know you had Adam on earlier, and I know he sells a lot, but to me he's like a true collector that uses disposable income towards that.
Yep.
Um, but like as for what I actually collect, I'm a big Celtics fan, so I have a lot of Celtics players. Um, I was lucky enough to get into Jaylen Brown before he was cool, so I have a pretty good stash of Jaylen Brown stuff. And then I was buying Tatum at good prices this year before he kind of exploded. Um, so a lot of Celtic stuff I just kind of sit on, and then I collect one subset, and that kind of scratches the itch of like, let's look on eBay to see if anything popped up, or
Mm.
like, those are the cards I'll overpay for because they pop up so infrequently. Um, I don't want to get poached on that, so I might show you at the end so you can cut it out, um, because in my opinion, it's one of the best subsets that's been released recently. But I don't want to get like, I know Tristan used to just buy stuff and then just list it on his eBay account for like 500 OBO, and I was like, well, shoot. So
Well, if
I'll
we
show
can
you.
if we can find a way to actually help you towards that goal instead of hurting you, we'll find a way. But you don't have to reveal it.
Well, it's reaching that point where it's like there are so few cards that I actually need that
Yeah.
been I've been considering coming out, so to speak, with like what it actually is. Um, but I'm not quite there because there are a couple gimmies that are just out there, and I don't want to pay the price. Like they're $20 cards, and I don't want to pay $40 for them, so I'm just kind of waiting.
So what
So
is
I don't.
this? Does this set help you with your or hit on like your collecting part? Like a lot of guys are in this just to like sort of hoard and collect. Does this scratch that itch for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's. I think I've been collecting it now for 3 or 4 years, so it's really fun. Because especially now, since it's not really a recent release, um, it's kind of exciting just to see it pop up. And like those are the auctions. Like I'll go all out on those auctions, and I'll be like, okay, well,
Mm.
this is you know, like that like one card you usually have to have, but then like 2 months later, you're like, well, I could sell this, or I could trade this away.
Yeah.
Um, that set is my version of like those cards.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like it's a very, I think of it as like a very disciplined way to get that need kind of met. But then there's no like 6 months later, oh, I really regret that because
Yeah.
it's still, oh, the set's badass. So
Sure. So I want to hear you talk about flipping a little bit more. Are you flipping out of necessity in order to grow your collection, or do you actually enjoy flipping, like the process of it and the kind of the drive towards that next flip?
yeah, um, probably necessity. I would classify it as. I do use this as like passive income, um, like passive income as
Sure.
for like an 18-year-old. Um, but I kind of look at it as, to me, I was explaining this to somebody because a lot of people get out of this when they go to college, and somebody was like, "Oh, are you gonna try to keep that up when you're off at school?" Like that doesn't seem very practical.
Yeah.
And to me, collecting is a way for me to follow my favorite sport really intensely. And like I write for a Celtics website, and like I keep up with the Celtics, and I know the salary cap really well. And like I'm not a casual NBA fan. I'm a very like intense NBA fan. So for me, the fun in it is really in flipping. The fun is not like, oh, I made $20, because I know people like that where it's like they'll buy a card and they'll be like, hey, I'll sell this to you for $5 more
Sure.
because that's all I need to do. Like that's actually how I get some of my stuff, because there's a lot of local guys that are, well, I just bought this Tatum for 100, but I'll give it to you for 110. And I'm like, sure, I'll buy that and I'll keep it because it's a cool card. Um, but I don't really do that. I kind of like, I do it so I can follow players and teams.
Yeah.
Uh, so my strategy is very luck based. I got very lucky this year. I hit on Jaylen Brown. Um, I hit on Tatum before he kind of exploded. So like the non-essential cards that like I know I could buy back again. Like I've been able to make some money off of those. Um, I'm running a blank on some of the players but like this year I really did well. With the players I was kind of invested in,
Yeah.
and I think it's exciting because you can really your collection really takes a big jump when you're right about something like that.
Sure.
But then my strategy is always too, because like I'm also a collector. Like I spend way too often where I'm like, yeah, it's an okay deal, but like I like it, so I'll just buy it. Like there's some cards I've held for like 5 years, and I'm just like, I really didn't need this, but I like it. and I'm not gonna make money on it, but I like it. So my strategy is always like the way I look at collecting and even flipping. It is I like this player. I like following this player. Even if he doesn't pan out this year or next year, I would be comfortable holding the card.
Yeah.
So, like that happened with Isaiah Thomas last year, where I had a couple Isaiah Thomas cards. I was like, I like following him. He's my team's all NBA point guard, and he didn't work out, and his prices have tanked. But I'm happy I spent $20 on a rookie autograph because I just have it, and
Yeah.
I had some great memories watching Isaiah Thomas play basketball. So, like that's always been my thing has always been I'm comfortable flipping, but I'm also comfortable holding anything I buy. So I'm not like one of those guys that's like I need to make that next $5. I need to make that next $10. Like it's very much kind of I look at it as a hybrid where I can keep the hobby self-sufficient and I don't have to like eat into my college funds, but I can also continually upgrade my collection and have fun.
Sure. Man, I think that's the perfect way to approach it, honestly. Like, I think that's how everyone should be doing it. So I really like to hear that.
Thanks.
Before I get into sort of my questions dedicated towards you, do you want to show off a couple cards? Do you have something?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I have a stack. I'm just
Nice.
trying to figure out where the stack stuff is. So
Your
these are
your smile just perked up for the card showing part.
I love these cards. So like there are a couple cards like when I say I don't collect, I do collect, and there are cards I'm just gonna hold forever.
Yeah.
Case one, Jeremy Lin, because I play basketball. Like I was a varsity player on like a really good. We went to the Final Four in the state when I was a sophomore. So like I'm like a very competitive basketball player, but I'm also 5'7", 5'8". So I get a lot of the like. Jeremy Lin was a big inspiration because he kind of taught me how to school a bunch of tall athletic
Nice.
guys. My go-to when I was playing, I would actually be like, especially like when you were playing those inner city teams, I'd go like a black kid would be guarding me and he'd try to talk smack, and then I'd like blow by him and I'd go, you can't even guard the Asian kid. Why are you playing? So Jeremy Lin, big inspiration. This is the one card I'll probably never ever sell.
This is your dad's?
Yeah, this is my dad's Dan Marino card. That was what got him into collecting.
That's awesome.
I was actually thinking of grading it, but I think I just want to keep it the way it is.
Does your dad like that you kept that card?
Yeah, I mean he's not super nostalgic like I am, but I like collecting as a link between people because I have a lot of great friendships just from collecting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then this is an Isaiah Thomas. I was actually at this game, which is why I bought it. I way overpaid for it, but it was one of those Panini instant. Like he dropped 53 on the Wizards, and that was a really cool memory because I was there with my dad for that too.
Nice.
And then I guess I'll just show off one. I have one Jaylen Brown card that I really like, and it's my only autograph I still have of him. I kept all the prisms, but I sold all the autographs. But I really like this one. And I don't know why. I think it's just because it's on card and it's not $2,000 like some of the other on card autographs he's got.
Sure.
But I just like the look. I'm actually trying to get a Tatum to go with it.
Do you like Tatum or Brown better?
You know, I didn't see it with Tatum until like I saw him play. Because I was just like, oh, another tall, kind of pudgy looking skinny guy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you see him in person and his footwork is just amazing. I think Tatum's going to be the better player.
Okay.
But I also think Brown's going to be an all-star. Because he works like crazy. Like, I don't know. Are you a Cleveland fan or just like you collect LeBron?
No, I'm like a self-proclaimed LeBron lover, and I don't really care for any of the teams he plays for.
Oh, okay.
And I've been like, I usually get flack for that, like, oh, you just root for whatever team he's on, and I sort of just like roll with it. Like, yeah, I do actually. So
yeah. So I think Tatum's gonna be like all NBA. I think Brown's gonna be multiple all-star. But like, I follow the Celtics way too closely. Like Jalen was just working out with Tracy McGrady the other day, And it's like he just kind of gets it.
Yeah.
Like he gets like you have to put in the work.
Yep.
And I collected him because he was on the Celtics. I didn't collect him because I thought he was good because his rookie year he was awful. And then this year it comes back, his handle's way tighter, his shots he's just knocked down.
Yep.
And it's just he's so darn athletic. That's the only reason I collected him because like you know with some rookies like you see the flashes.
Yeah.
Like Jalen showed the flashes where like you just go down the lane and dunk it over somebody.
Yep.
And then Tatum has those, but like with actual skills, like his handle's ridiculous, and then he just shoots over people.
Yep.
So I think when Kyrie leaves and Hayward leaves, and they're in their mid-20s, I think they're just gonna run the league. But I like Jalen as a collector because I think Tatum kind of priced himself out of my price range with the whole like LeBron thinks he's gonna be the next big thing and everything.
Well, he'll dip down. Like we talked about this with Adam. He's staying away from Donovan Mitchell. Those guys will both dip a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, unless they become like all NBA this year, which is going to be tough.
Yeah.
I actually like both of those guys a lot too. The reason I like them, sort of a like LeBron lover perspective. Like those two both go at LeBron pretty hard, which I like to see. Those are the guys that the guys that aren't afraid of LeBron and just go at him and score on him and D him up. Those are the guys that end up turning out to be good players.
Yeah, they both kind of have that like instinct. Like they're not like a DeRozan or anything that's just gonna wilt in the playoffs. Like they both get it.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to watch them play. I hope Danny Ainge doesn't trade any of them because
I don't think he will, man. He's been like avoiding it like crazy. All right, let's jump into your questions that I have for you. So I want to hit on your age for a second because I'm probably not going to have too many guys your age on, and I think it's awesome just how like into it you are already. So what does the collecting landscape look like for a younger person?
Oh geez. Believe it or not, and I feel really old saying this, it's not the same now as it was when I got started. I was very lucky in that I started Instagram when Instagram was kind of new in general, not just for like collecting. Like it was just a new social media platform.
Yeah.
So when I started like a card page, it was very like nobody knew what the heck was going on. Like everybody was like 12 or 13 or 10, and it was literally like, okay, well, I'll send you $20 in a plain white envelope, and then you send me this. And like I remember that was back when you had to pay for tracking with a first class package. So it would literally like we would haggle over like $2 to get tracking numbers for these cards. Like that was the amount of trust we all had with each other. Which I think it helps because you can, like, I think deciphering whether people are honest over online is a very real skill. Yeah. Like, I actually think it's something you can learn and pick up. And, I was very fortunate that I didn't really run into anybody dishonest until kind of later on when I could kind of call it out and pick it up. And I think I only got officially scammed once for like $20. And that was it was a kid I dealt with before, and I don't even know where he is now. I think he just went off the deep end. But I literally sent him $20 just for a Rudy Gay autograph, and he never sent it. So what are you going to do? Right now, the landscape's kind of weird because especially with the younger kids that are coming in now, like what happened for kids who are like 18, 19, 20 right now is they came in and they all kind of learned together on the same platform, which I think is very unique, and I don't think it's going to happen again. Mm-hmm. So we all kind of learned together. So we all went from like, oh, well, it sold on eBay for $20, so I'll give you $25. And like we all progressively went to like, well, no, this was eBay prices, but there are fees, and like we all got PayPal and all of that. What's happening now is like for the younger kids that are coming in, it's already kind of, I don't want to say cutthroat, but it's already like the path is well worn already. So there's a lot of like big Instagram players now, like Card Collector 2, like Kentucky Basketball Cards. Like I remember when Ryan and Jimmy like first started, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like these older guys are like getting into Instagram, and now like they run the place.
Right.
So I think it's very interesting because there's already this established like hierarchy of collectors. And I think younger kids that get into it now are a lot more industrious than kids like in my generation were, in that it's kind of sink or swim because it's really easy to lose a ton of money on razzes, or which I don't do. I don't really like razzes actually, but like with group breaks and razzes and everything, kids have to be a lot smarter a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and there's definitely more as the platform has grown. There's a lot more people that are looking to exploit. Um, so I think they have to be a lot more careful than I had to be when I was younger.
Yeah.
But it's still it's at its best, it's a wonderful community and it's very engaging just because you post pictures of cards and you get comments and that's literally it.
Right.
So I think it's a great way to start out. Might not be the best way to like make a ton of moves unless you're one of the big guys, but definitely a great community.
There was a thread that started and someone was asking like, what if there should be like a LinkedIn for card collectors, like so you like a database. You saw that thread?
Yeah.
And I had posted like, guys, Instagram, just go on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that scared people away from Instagram was like sort of the like noise of Instagram with everyone's like food posts and their families and stuff. But Instagram is cool because you can literally make an account for your cards like you've done and only follow people that have cards, and your feed is like 99% cards.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. And honestly, a lot of the scammers have kind of been weeded out too. Like that was actually a big issue because a lot of kids were really naive and like there were literally pages just like, no, he will scam you. And then people would keep sending the person like money orders and it was like, stop. So like it's a much cleaner environment than it used to be because there used to be a lot of noise about, oh, well, Instagram's not really legit because there's no way to like check and people send cash and it's a mess. But now it's very organized and it's good.
Sure. What do you think about the future of the hobby, especially in terms of the current younger generation coming in and sustaining the hobby in the future?
Yeah. Bright. Probably not as in the ideal way, in my ideal way at least. Because kids are just so darn industrious now, honestly. Like it's very I don't set up at shows, but I have a lot of buddies at shows, so I just I'll grab a seat and like they'll let me put a 2-row out or something. And I remember there was a little kid that was coming around. He's like, "Do you have any football cards?" And like my friend was selling him like some inserts for $1. And I gave him a little, like I think it was a Victor Cruz autograph for like free, literally for free. And I'm like, "Hey buddy, like have this card, you're a Giants fan, whatever." He's like, "Wow, cool." And then his friend goes, "You could get like $5 for that," and he went and sold it to somebody. And I was like, wow. you know. So there's a lot of that now, especially because it's a lot of like kids are aspiring to be big players, and also big players give the best prices because they're not like, oh, check Beckett. So it's kind of like we're growing up. There's like Walmart, the Walmart of card vendors, and then there's like the Amazon of card vendors, and Amazon's kind of winning out for better or for worse.
Right.
But I'm very optimistic about the future of the hobby because the guys that, especially the ones that I've kind of like grown up with, so to speak, like they're very dedicated. And it's kind of similar to me. It's become a part of their sports fandom in general, and not just like oh, I do this, or like, oh, I collect. It's become a part of like, oh, I root for the Browns, so I'm gonna like load up on Deshaun Kaiser, or like I'm a Cardinals fan, so like they just traded for AP, I'm gonna grab an AP card. So I think it's good because it's the guys who are in it now are like in it, because it's not really a cool thing to do either anymore. Like there's no like baseball card nostalgia whipping up the nation. I remember one of my ex-girlfriend, I remember the first time I told her I collected cards, she was like, "Ha, loser." I was like, well. But yeah, so like I think it's good because the people who are in it like for the love of it, but there's no mistakes to be made. There's no like, oh, buy these and you'll be a millionaire. Like they're very much in it because like either they're sports fans or they're very realistic about it.
Sure.
So I think I think what's happening now and what's building now is a lot more sustainable than in years past, even if it's a lot less people.
So there's less. The kids today aren't getting into it to like invest and be millionaires. They're in it for other reasons, more authentic reasons.
Yeah, and I think what happens too is like as a result of that, like guys your age especially are we're just everybody's straight up with each other. It's like, well, listen, I'm not gonna price gouge you, but I also like, people are very comfortable discussing like, hey, I bought it for this. Can I make a little bit of money? Or
Sure.
like, hey, you're a collector. I'll give it to you for what I bought it for, something like that.
Right.
So I think learning from people like you and like people that are just they don't like hide behind Beckett values or like try to rip people off.
Yep.
There's a very there's kind of a standard.
Yeah.
Like there's a price standard and a very I just think it's more sustainable, like I was saying.
The other,
And
the
kind
other,
of
go ahead.
because a lot of guys, like especially locally, like some of the younger guys, they're very upfront. They're like, I'm trying to make a profit, but they go, but this isn't my job. I just make a couple $1,000s, like, and then it goes right back in. So learning from those guys and seeing like, oh, I don't have to make $1 million or make 200% on a card. I can make $20 and everybody's happy. Like, it's creating a very good like economy
Right.
of cards, I think.
The other thing with like the younger generation and the way cards are evolving, there's so much information that like before I even talk to you, I know what your PC is by looking at your Instagram. I know generally what you paid. I could probably even look up a lot of the cards you bought on eBay, or I can look at like I could
Yeah.
talk with other collectors. It's a very like connected network now, and everyone knows pretty much everything at this point.
Yeah, like
Like
it's
we
very
could
transparent.
we could just rattle off players in the league and be like, oh, this guy, this guy, this guy collects him, and
Right.
he's missing this piece. So if I see it, I'll hit him up and see if he needs it for his PC. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
there's not as much like gouging or not as much of that because everyone just knows what everyone has and what they need.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really hide anymore. It's like you're either a good person and you're honest, or it's like, you get found out real quick.
Yeah.
So I
Some,
like that.
Sometimes I get a little worried about the future based on Panini's strategy. I generally like what they do. I like that they have a lot of diverse sets. I like that they have a lot of low end. They have some high end. They have the Prism craze. I'm just a little worried about the overprinting and also the like too many colors in the rainbow. I feel like eventually people are going to get worn out from that.
Yeah.
That's one of my main concerns. But how
Well,
do you feel about that?
what's funny actually, I think Prism colors are undervalued right now.
Like the
Because
non-silvers, you mean?
yeah, because everybody's so caught up in the silvers, and it's like the blue waves from a couple years ago. They're like out of 99, and blue waves are selling for less than silvers,
And they're
and
way lower print.
they're much more scarce.
Yeah.
And it's like people go. I actually saw a thread on Blowout where somebody was arguing. They go, well, why doesn't I don't even remember what it was, but somebody said, well, why do LeBron Topps Chrome Refractors sell for more than LeBron Pristine Color? Because everybody loves silver. It's iconic. And I was reading it. I'm like, no, it's because Topps Pristine was a joke and Topps
Right.
Chrome was the card to own.
Sure.
Like LeBron X-Fractors and LeBron Black serial numbered cards consistently sell for more than the refractors,
Yep.
even back then when it was actually short printed.
Yep.
So I don't people are really picking up on that now. So I kind of just dumped my long-term strategy on this podcast, but that's all right. I'll find other ways.
The only downside to that strategy, I'll just give my opinion to that, is that back then it was just black, X-Fractor, gold, and silver. So
Yeah.
those are all ones that look appealing. When you get into like the orange and you get like starburst and those kind of weird colors, like the ones that look good will be the ones that surface at the end. So like if you
That's
think
true.
the blue waves, if they look better, that could take off, and the golds are always going to be sought after. I think what's
Yeah.
going to like the purples and like the
Yeah,
oranges, those are the ones that are going to fizzle.
I get that. Yeah, the blues from this year are really ugly. Like I thought I pulled a black 101 because I was like, oh look, like dark gray, and it was like no, it's out of 199. It's supposed to be blue. So yeah, I get that. Like I'm very much I love the aesthetics of cards still. Like actually my favorite. I'm actually thinking of doing another set where I want to do the Prestige autograph set because like the full color like just photography is beautiful. Because like that was my favorite. That's actually what got me into cards. Is like I would flip the card over and I'd
Yep.
read the stats and I'd read a little write up and I'd see a cool picture on the front. And
Yep.
like I miss that. And the only sets that have that are like the cheap, like NBA hoops or like Prestige.
Yep.
And it's like who doesn't want a rookie card with action photography, like full, like people paid like $3 a pack for this in the 90s for like Stadium Club, and like Panini's giving them away.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
I don't understand that. Like, I might have one here. Like, no, I think I left it. In my other box. But I don't get how Prestige is not a bigger set than it is. Like, I get it, stickers, but like an action shot of Tatum, like Tatum's Prestige, like bonus shots autograph is him doing a finger roll over LeBron.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how would nobody want to own this card? Like, I got mine for like $80.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand it.
I would put a massive premium on the photography at this point. The photography and the on-card autos, to me, like, those are the ones long-term that are going to hold, because everything else is sticker and then in a, a studio taking pictures of guys holding balls and stuff.
It's like, yes, he can do a triple threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. You've hit on it a little bit, but what's like your budgeting in terms of collecting? How do you stay on budget? Because you mentioned you don't want to tap into your college savings. So how do you stay disciplined in that, and what does that look like week to week?
What happens week to week is I go through periods of like buying a lot and then not buying it all. Like, I keep an Excel file of all the cards I buy just so I can keep track and of just my month-to-month spending. And I was looking back in my PayPal like account, and I was like, well, I bought like 30 cards in April, and then 2 in May, 10 in June, and I've bought like 3 in July. So it's like I very much, you have to be very disciplined about it, because I'm sure I think everybody that's going to watch this knows the feeling where it's like, I haven't bought a card in a while.
I need something.
Yeah, and it's like, it's really tempting when like Spectra comes out and it's like, wow, the new like Jayson Tatum card, and it's like, but it's Spectra and it's really ugly and it's neon purple. Not to hate on Spectra, I don't mind those cards actually. But like, the feeling.
Yep.
Where it's, oh shoot, like I wish I had a new card. But then it's like, well, no, like you're not dipping into that savings account. I think I've only dipped into my savings account a couple times, or my checking account a couple times, where it was like, okay, like I could either very clearly make money on this, or this is just a once in a lifetime card and I know my next paycheck's coming in from my actual job.
Yep.
So, I always put it right back.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really weird, especially only collecting one sport, because off season is kind of slow. But then in season, it's like you gotta make it happen and be on the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to think of the hobby as pretty self-sufficient, because it's not something I can spend hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars on right now.
Sure. One thing I always like to tell younger collectors, even I've only been in the hobby for a couple of years, but
Yep.
I am an older. I know I can kind of see what's gonna happen for you. Like, you're a super sharp kid, and I think you've got a super bright future. Like, you're budgeting, you're doing all this great stuff, you're collecting for the right reasons. I'm really not worried about any of that. So my advice would be to keep on the same path. Like, don't feel like you need to reach and spend a ton of money, because like you have so much time ahead of you that eventually you're going to get everything you ever wanted, really.
Yeah.
There's not going to be there's not going to be like a $20,000 card that pops up tomorrow that you have to have that you're never going to get. Like, you'll always have time on your side.
Yeah. And it's weird because I kind of see that now too, because it's like I went from, there's a very clear like point where you go from having a lot of like $5 cards to having a lot of like $30 cards.
Yep.
And it's very like, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable to the point where I'm dealing in like the thousands or like the high hundreds. Like I was telling you earlier before we started, like I get actually uncomfortable about holding like a card that's worth more than like $200 or $300 for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I'm very content with where I'm at right now, and then hopefully it'll continue up. But I don't know if I'll ever be like, I have this $20,000 RPA. Does anybody want to buy it?
I'm laughing because last year I said I was buying about $30 to $50 cards, and I was pretty happy sustaining at that level. And then it just got to a point where like I just had more disposable income, and I just had the opportunity to move up. And then now it's like you just sort of like raise your floor.
Yeah.
So now it's like $30 card. What the heck? Like, what is that? But
Right.
you were mentioning like you go through these periods where you're not buying a lot. So what I'll do at that time is I'll just buy like I was telling you before, I buy some Todd Gurley stuff, some football.
Yep.
So I'll just buy like a $10 gold prism Todd Gurley just to like scratch the itch of getting the mail, ripping it open, checking out the card, you know, getting it in the sleeves and stuff. While I'm holding over for that next huge card.
I have a weird thing where I have to feel all the patches on cards that I buy.
Oh yeah, totally.
So I'm like, you know what? I bought this because it's a game used jersey. Like I have to touch the game used jersey.
Sure.
So that's kind of a thing I do, and it works out because I scan all my cards in a mag. Like I do the whole like what's it called? The Microsoft app where it's like not photo scanner.
Like a picture.
But yeah. It's it's a great app. I actually want to give it a shout out because it's made my life so much easier.
Yep.
Office Lens. I office lens everything in mags, so I take them out of the top loaders, put them in a mag, and then put them back. So it works out, so I don't have to like unnecessarily like I need to touch the jersey. Like there's a designated time for that. It's good.
The thing that got me really into collecting was when I bought my avatar on Blowout is the Hardaway 97-98 game jersey. And when I got that card, I wasn't a big fan of jersey cards just because like they're just so they're not as exciting today. They're just, you know, every card has a patch in it. But when I got that card, I was like, wow, this patch is like, I feel like it's so old, you know, it's like, and it's this tiny thin patch on the super old card. It just really got me like moving into collecting more, and that's why I made it my avatar, because it was sort of like the gateway into like the bigger cards.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to talk about National? You're going to National, right?
I am, yeah.
Are you excited?
Yes, I think I'm working for somebody at National, so that'll be interesting.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about at National? Any quick...
Have you ever been?
No, I haven't. This is my first year. I'm super excited.
It's awesome. I went to what was apparently the worst National in 30 years in Atlantic City like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was amazing. That's probably the reason that my collection's where it's at right now, is because that's how I got on Blowout, believe it or not. I don't know if you've ever talked to BDRR. No, great guy. Shout out Zach. He probably hates that I'm doing this, but Zach's a great guy. He's been in the hobby for like 10 or 15 years, and he's so great to talk hoops with. So he and I talk a lot about, like, he kind of does the same thing as I do, but he's a Lakers fan. So it's good because he sees the Western Conference more than I do, and then vice versa. So we'll like shoot ideas off of each other, and I'll be like, hey, like, because at a certain point you're in the market for so long, you're like, well, you probably want to wait 2 months, and then it'll dip down. Like, he's given me a lot of like those pointers where it's like he slaps me on the wrist a lot when I'm like, do you think I should buy this? I think they'll go up. And he goes, no, it's the 30th release. Nobody ever buys this set, and he's not that good. He's just a rookie.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that helped a lot. And then he was like, you should get on Blowout. And he, you know, when Houdini was like, why is this 14-year-old trying to get on our website? He's like, no, I met the kid. He's nice. He knows what he's talking about. Like, you know, let him through.
Nice.
Because I waited in moderation for like 2 weeks. And I wrote a second PM where I was like, I'm actually serious about this. I'm not like I'm not like a PBM and like trying to scam people. But yeah, no, the National's awesome because it's literally. Do you go to card shows?
Nope.
No. So it's literally like a 20,000 square foot room with all card tables.
Yeah.
And it's like the front is kind of weird because it's all the corporate stuff. It's like PSA, like Blowout,
Panini.
Yeah, Panini, Topps, Upper Deck, and then a lot of like old vintage like auction houses.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to start from the back and work my way forward.
Okay.
But it's awesome because it's literally like you could go for a day and literally walk as far as you want for a day and you wouldn't see everything. So I don't know how long you're going for, but I like to spend the first like day and a half like walking around the room and getting a feel for the room.
Sure.
Mostly because I have a terrible sense of direction, but also because like I don't want to miss anything because it's like it's so easy just to stop at a dollar box for an hour and be like, wow, like these are great.
Yeah.
And it might be different for you since you play or collect, and like you might be looking for like a specific like insert or whatever. But for me, it's like it's just so overwhelming, and then it's just like I just hack away. Like I'll go down a row, and then I'll like I kind of snake through
It's like a
because
grind.
if I don't, I'll be stuck somewhere forever.
Right.
And then it's like, oh God, like I remember I missed a Chris Webber 101 by like this much, and I was like, shoot, if I didn't spend 20 minutes looking through that $5 box at overpriced like Jason Kidd cards, I would have had a Chris Webber 101 for like $200.
Yeah.
And that's like, shoot. But it all balances out too, because there's so much there, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Like it's actually amazing.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a whole ordeal. It was a whole ordeal in my family because I'm flying alone, and my mom's like, so you're going with this strange man that owns a card collecting company, huh? And I was like, yeah, he's a friend. She goes, oh, interesting. So like I had to like bring my dad to a card show, and like they talked for like an hour, and it was like. But yeah, so I'll have a dealer badge around my neck and look very official when I'm there. But
Nice.
I'll just be Joe Schmo walking around.
Nice. Well, we'll have to meet up, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was great. I'm excited about National as well. I'll definitely try to hang out. I'm gonna go, try to hang out with everybody, and we'll spend some time talking hoops.
Sweet. Yeah, you
All right,
got to
man.
teach me about '90s cards. That's kind of my weakness. So.
I'm gonna bring as much as I can. I'm actually researching Amazon stuff for like bags of how to carry all this stuff. So
Yeah, me too.
if you find something, let me know.
Okay, because I was like, my backpack's more than 2 feet by 1.5 feet. Crap.
Right.
So it's yeah. Are you bringing like a luggage bag, or are you just bringing a carry-on and stuffing your clothes in?
I'm going to bring a backpack and try to get all my cards in there, and then I'll do another carry-on for Southwest because they'll let me do like the bag
Smart.
to hold and then the bag for the up top for my clothes.
Yeah, Southwest stuff sold out for me, so I got to go like Spirit Airlines or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, man. I'll see you there. This was great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited I'm way more impressed than I thought I would be with the younger generation of collectors. I mean, that's crazy. You guys are like ahead of a lot of us, so keep it up,
There's
man.
some shrewd bastards, though. I gotta tell you, there are some kids that are literally like, I've had kids come up to me. They're like, "Well, the lowest comp is this, and I'm trying to make money. So I'll give you 80%." And I'm like, "No." and a lot of kids are like, "Well, you can only make this much after fees." I'm like, I would rather sell it on eBay than to you. So goodbye. So there's some of that, but yes, it is impressive. People's capacity for like straightforwardness is very it's more than I thought it was. But
Well, I was picturing like, hey kid, here's some hoops cards for free, and they're like, what hoops? That's garbage. Like, where's your patch autos and stuff? It's like, what?
right, yeah, we all learned the like, oh, that's all worthless, throw it away. Like,
Oh yeah.
especially like at the local card show I go to, it's a lot of guys that were collecting then. So they're like, yeah, I use that as firewood. I can give you $2 for the box. It's like, okay. I actually did that once. I had a bunch of like old hobby boxes that I was just keeping around for no reason, and I needed money for a prom ticket for my prom date. So I sold them all for $2 a box, and he sold them for like $4. I was like, you know what? Good on you. That's capitalism right there. But yep, great hobby.
All right, man. Great stories. Good chat. I'll see you at National.